Hi, and welcome to the show where we share the stories of the many who intersect with our healthcare system but are rarely heard from. Subscribe at kevinmd.com/podcast. Today, we have a special sponsored episode from Set for Life Insurance. Joining us today is Jamie Fleischner. She is founder and president of Set for Life Insurance. With over 28 years of experience in the industry, Jamie has helped countless clients protect themselves from life's biggest risks. She's highly recognized as one of the top disability and life insurance brokers in the country, with numerous awards and publications to her name. Find out more at setforlifeinsurance.com. That's all one word, setforlifeinsurance.com. I'll put links in the show notes. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, could you tell us a little bit more about your personal experience with disability and life insurance and how it has shaped your career and approach to helping clients?
Yeah, well, I started out in the industry very early on. I was 20 years old in college. And soon after I graduated, I came back to Denver. And within a few months, my mom needed a double lung transplant. And so I was her primary caretaker. And so I took care of her. So I was starting my business in the insurance industry while taking care of her. And so it had a tremendous impact on me, both personally and professionally. So I saw firsthand the importance of disability insurance. She was a big corporate executive, and she was only 49 years old at the time. And it was that disability insurance policy that paid her benefits that allowed her to sustain herself financially while she was trying to get better or just taking care of her illness, waiting for this transplant. And during that period of time, I was starting in the industry and going to all of her medical appointments and at the university hospital. And so I met a lot of physicians and medical residents, and I started working with them. And so that just really launched me into the industry. And I have such a passion for helping physicians with disability insurance.
Now, you are the founder and president of Set for Life Insurance. You mentioned that you help primarily physicians. What sets you apart, and why do clients choose to work with your company over others?
So there's several things that set us apart. First of all, we were the very first company to start working with people online. So we started setforlifeinsurance.com back in 2000. So we were the first independent brokerage nationally. So we really got the systems down, and we were really the pioneers working in that space. So we, like you mentioned, we're independent brokers. So we don't work for any particular company. So we work independently. So our clients come to us and we shop around and find the best policies available. And since we have so many years of experience and we've done so much work in the industry, we've developed a lot of relationships around the country where we've developed discounts. We have discounts at every major hospital in the country. And then we also are working really closely with the companies where a lot of our clients are able to get exceptions, whether it's they can get more benefit or they have a medical problem, we're able to get things done. So we're able to get some things done for our clients that aren't done elsewhere. And then the last thing, a lot of our clients just say our approach is a little bit different than everyone else. We're very approachable, we're very down to earth, and we're also very responsive. So we really, really like to get to know our clients, and it's a very high touch type of situation, even though a lot of it is online, but it's not a high pressure type of typical sales experience.
Now, you mentioned that you work with a lot of physicians and medical residents. Do you find that they get a lot of training or information or education when it comes to disability or life insurance before going out into the workforce?
I would say they are bombarded with information about disability and life insurance, but they're getting it from so many different sources. So oftentimes they're not really sure what to believe, or they just block it out. And so I think a lot of them turn to the internet or places like your space to get professional information, to know where to go to get the accurate information.
All right. So let's talk about disability insurance. So, what exactly is that, and why should physicians and other professionals consider it?
So when you think about insurance, what you're doing is you're covering risk. So people immediately think about covering their car, their home, or things like that. But a lot of people forget that their most valuable asset is their ability to earn an income.
Mm-hmm.
Because without an income, the whole house of cards falls. You're not able to even support anything else. So your most valuable asset is your not just your income, but your ability to earn the income. And so physicians and other high income professionals are very reliant on their income. They work very hard to get through residency or law school or whatever type of training that they are to get to that point. And a lot of them have a lot of debt. And so all of their future financial goals are reliant on the fact that they're going to have this income stream. And statistically speaking, about 1 in 3 high income professionals at some point in their career are going to have a period of time where they can't work due to sickness or an injury or something will happen to them. So it is critical that they have proper insurance where they can still sustain themselves financially, to whether it's paying off their loans, their mortgage, saving for retirement, or supporting their family.
When is the best time for someone to purchase a disability policy and why?
The earlier, the better. So the
Mm.
best time for physicians is coming out of medical school or medical residency, or if you're a young professional, right as you come out of law school or you graduate, as soon as you are ready, you're working, that's the best time. The younger you are, the less expensive it is because it's based on your age. And also, typically, you're healthier when you're younger. So, disability insurance can be the most difficult type of insurance to get because there's so much exposure, there's so much risk, and it's likely to happen. And so, they look at all of your medical conditions. So,
Mhm.
if you can get it when you're younger, it'll be less expensive. And then you can also lock in that rate and then have the ability to increase in the future without having to answer any medical questions. So, earlier is better.
Now, you mentioned earlier that a lot of early career physicians and residents are bombarded with information about disability insurance. So, when someone looks at that information or looks at a policy, what are the most important elements that someone should look for when evaluating a disability policy?
Well, the most important part of a policy is the definition of disability, because that's how the company is going to determine whether or not they're going to pay a claim. If you don't have a good definition of disability, it doesn't really matter anything else on the policy. So the most important part is having an own occupation definition of disability. So what that says, if due to sickness or injury, you can't work in your medical specialty or your occupation, you're going to get paid benefits regardless of income earned in another medical specialty or occupation. That is the most primary thing.
Now, would you say that a lot of the policies that's offered to physicians are they own occupation?
So individual policies are typically own occupation. There are 5 major companies that are all true own occupation. There's really not much variance between them. But group policies, so policies that people get through their employer, typically are not own occupation. Most group policies, so you go and work for the university hospital, their definition is going to say, we'll cover you if you can't work as long as you're not gainfully employed. So if you're a neurosurgeon and you have arthritis, and you can't do neurosurgery, but maybe you can go do research on an own occupation policy, you're going to get paid. Through the employer, you're not going to get paid if they think you can go do research or something else. They may not pay that claim.
So those typical hospital benefits where you typically check a box during the benefits fair, the disability policy offered. So in general, just to be clear, those are not good enough for most physicians.
Well, there's limitations on it. So if you're unhealthy, that's the only thing you can do.
Hmm.
Number 2, it's usually required that you do take that policy. So typically you don't have a choice, but there are large gaps in it. So since the employer is paying the premium, the benefits to you are taxable. They usually have a cap. So they usually only pay up to maybe 10,000 or 15,000 a month. Again, that's taxable. And then it's also not portable. So if you ever leave that employer, you're not going to be able to take it with you. So if you go to a new employer where they don't have it, or you go start your own practice, you're having to start all over and get your own insurance. So it's really important, even if you have a group policy, to at least supplement with your own insurance. So if you leave, you can expand your own policy, or if you have an own occupation claim, you're still going to get paid benefits even though the group may not pay you.
So, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest risks that physicians and other healthcare professionals face in their careers that disability and life insurance can help protect against?
So when you're looking at risk, the biggest causes of disability is primarily musculoskeletal problems
Hmm.
and mental health problems. Those are really the 2 primary reasons that people aren't able to work. So if it's back injuries, back pain, neck pain, depression, anxiety, those are the biggest risks that are keeping people out of work.
Now, are there cases where someone should consider changing their policies that they currently have?
Well, sometimes people come to me and maybe they got a policy 10 years ago, they never really looked at it. Is it still a good policy? If you bought it 10 years ago, you probably locked it in at your age, so it's going to be a lot less expensive. But there are some policies out there. Again, they may not be own occupation. They might have some gaps in it. It might be worth evaluating to maybe either supplement what you have. I typically don't like to replace it unless it's really worthwhile for the client.
Are there any horror stories that you've heard from physicians when it comes to their disability policy? Perhaps they didn't choose an own occupation policy and just stuck to the default policy. What are some horror stories that you've heard and want to share with us today?
Well, I've had a couple of horror stories related to disability insurance. I once gave a seminar to some orthopedic surgeons down at the university hospital, and this guy came up to me, I'm really busy right now, I don't have time. He contacted me 3 weeks later and said, I was just diagnosed with a brain tumor, a malignant brain tumor. Is
Wow.
this going to be a problem? Yeah, you can't get it. You can't buy it now. So those are the types of things that are painful. Had he bought the policy prior, he would have been covered. I've had people with life insurance. I had a guy out in Alaska, and he didn't pay his life insurance premium, didn't tell his wife, and died scuba diving. And she contacted me, and his policy had lapsed, and they had two
Mm.
young children. So I've had some of those types of horror stories where people didn't pay attention or do what they needed to do.
So let's switch gears to life insurance. When
Okay.
should someone consider purchasing life insurance?
So life insurance is important if somebody else is dependent on your income. So disability insurance is important if you are relying on your income, but life insurance becomes important if somebody else would be at risk if something happened to you. So whether you're married, you have a partner, you have children, you have a loan, you have a mortgage, that's when it's important to make sure you have life insurance.
So, like you said, we get bombarded with information about $1 million policies, $3 million policies. How do you determine the amount of life insurance you should apply for and the type of coverage that is available? So walk us through that.
So, life insurance, I try to keep it relatively simple. So, you want to have enough life insurance until you're able to self fund, meaning you've paid down your debt and you've accumulated enough assets where you're able to take care of all of what if something happens to you. So the rule of thumb is you need about 10 to 12 times your income to be able to cover that. And you need it until your youngest dependent is about age 25 and out of the house, or until you've been able to self fund. So somebody who's coming out of residency, let's say they're making $250,000 a year, they just got married and had their first child. Somebody like that would probably need about $2.5 million of term life insurance. And I would probably say like a 30-year term to cover future children. With life insurance, though, it's always better to overestimate how much you think you need and doing it a little bit longer, because you can't increase a life insurance policy and you can't extend it, but you can trim. So let's say that same person got $3 million and they got a 30-year term, and maybe they pay off everything and they only had the one kid. And in 25 years, they say, I don't need this anymore. You can always cancel it.
So you mentioned the word term life insurance. Walk us through the different options that physicians typically have when it comes to life insurance policies.
So a term policy is very simple. What term means is that's how long the premiums are locked in for. So they're usually a 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30-year term. The rates are fixed and guaranteed for that period of time. And at the end of the term, the policy will expire. So that's why it's important to make sure you choose the accurate time frame that you need. And then you also want to make sure it's something that's affordable.
And 30-year term, would that be the recommended length?
For somebody who's just getting started, maybe they haven't even had kids yet, or yeah, they're just kind of starting out. Again, 30 years typically where people start. Now, somebody comes and they already, they've got a 10 and 12-year-old and they're already paid off a lot of their debt. Maybe a 20-year term might be sufficient for them, or 25. So it really kind of depends on their situation.
So again, similar to disability insurance, contrast the individual life insurance policy that you would get from, say, Set for Life versus, say, a typical group policy that someone would get from a hospital. So contrast the coverage there.
So Again, when you're signing up for your benefits, you can usually just check the box, and
Yeah.
it's usually 1 or 2 times your income, or 500 up to 500,000 typically. So again, if you're really unhealthy and you want to get more, you can get some through your group. It's actually usually less expensive to go out into the marketplace and get your own term insurance than to get it through your employer. Unlike disability insurance, term life through your employer is not taxable. So, but again, it's going to be limited. And if you ever leave your job, it doesn't go with you. So you're really better off getting your own insurance. And I consider the life insurance through your employer as a bonus.
What are some common misconceptions about disability and life insurance that you've often had to address and answer from clients?
So I think the biggest misconception is, you know, I can just get this from my employer. My employer is going to take care of everything. We've got a great benefits package. I trust them.
Yeah.
That's going to cover everything. I'm going to be staying at this same hospital my entire career. I'm covered. That's probably the biggest misconception. Or, you know what, I'll just get this later. You know, I can't afford it right now. I've got a lot of bills. I'll wait to buy it. And then either they're uninsurable or they have a claim. So the biggest misconceptions is that it's going to, you'll be able to buy it when you need it or right before you need it, or that your employer is going to take care of everything.
Any pitfalls or red flags that early career physicians should look out for when evaluating life and disability insurance policies?
Well, I think one of the biggest red flags is if you're working with somebody and they tell you that this policy is better than all the rest. This is the only one that you should go through. That's the importance of working with somebody who's independent, who can shop around and look at it, because there really isn't one that's head and shoulders above all the others. And so, especially if they're saying this is the best and it's significantly more expensive, that's one of the biggest red flags. So I always like to spreadsheet and shop things around. So that's something to look out for.
We're talking to Jamie Fleischner. She is founder and president of Set for Life Insurance. With over 28 years of experience in the industry, Jamie has helped countless clients protect themselves from life's biggest risks. She's highly recognized as one of the top disability and life insurance brokers in the country, with numerous awards and publications to her name. Find out more at setforlifeinsurance.com. That's all one word, setforlifeinsurance.com, and I'll put links in the show notes. Jamie, how do you work with clients to create a customized insurance plan that meets their specific needs and circumstances?
So people come to me, they either contact me directly or they go through our website and request a quote. And we ask a lot of questions in terms of what their current situation is and what their priorities are. So based on that information, again, we spreadsheet everything out and we analyze everything. So what we might recommend for one person might be completely different than their colleague or somebody in a totally different situation. So what we try to do is we try to find the best price, make sure there's the biggest amount of discount, and then we eliminate a lot of the superfluous types of riders and just really focus on what they really need to have. That's going to be the most comprehensive at the best available price that's going to be suitable to their needs.
Now, how is their health evaluated in order to qualify for these policies?
So when you apply for a disability or a life insurance policy, you submit an application and they usually do an online health questionnaire where they'll ask you head to toe, last 10 years health issues. And so based on that criteria, the company will come back and they'll let you know if you've qualified or not. Disability either says, yes, you qualify, no, you don't, or we're excluding your left knee, something specific. Life insurance will categorize you and say you're super healthy, kind of healthy, not so healthy. So when somebody comes to us based on our experience, we can typically let them know whether or not we think that they're going to be able to qualify or if something's going to be excluded. Sometimes we really don't know until the company has to go and retrieve medical records and evaluate.
And then how about things like testing, blood tests, for instance?
So for disability insurance, through our agency, if you apply for less than $10,000 a month benefit, there's no blood or urine necessary. For life insurance, any amount over $1 million or above of life insurance, we have examiners that'll come out and test blood and urine. And they're checking AIDS, drugs, nicotine, cholesterol. Those are the big ones.
Now, similar to my red flag question, what are some of the most common mistakes that people make when selecting disability or life insurance coverage?
So the most common mistake with disability is probably only looking at the premium,
Mhm.
and as opposed to making sure it's all comprehensive and it's appropriate for their needs. And again, the other mistake is not shopping it around and making sure that there's available discounts or that it's going to be the most suitable for them. For life insurance, it's pretty straightforward. I tell people you don't need name brand term life insurance. You just want to go with the one that's going to be the most cost effective. However, sometimes based on our experience, if somebody's a little more complicated with health issues, we might be aware of which companies might provide a better offer for them. But the biggest mistake is going with somebody who only shows them one thing and tells them that it's
Mm.
the best, and it may not be the most suitable or the best priced for them.
Now, how do you balance the need for comprehensive coverage with a client's budget and financial goals?
So, what I do is I ask them what their priorities are. And then we also just try to take it in stages because some people are thinking 5, 10 years down the road, when they have 6 kids and a $2 million mansion. Think about where you are in the next 3 to 5 years and take it in steps. So you're better off growing into your coverage and having something that you can afford than something that you really can't afford. So you really need to also kind of prioritize. You may not be able to get everything that you want right now, but you can also grow with your policy.
Now, can you share a success story about a client who was able to benefit from your guidance and set for life's insurance policies?
So I've had several over the years, several different, all different kinds of claims. One that comes to mind, I had a client of mine and she was an orthopedic surgeon, met with her right when she was coming out of residency, kept up with her over the years. And she called me and she was really, really struggling. She had rheumatoid arthritis and it was progressively getting worse and worse. And one day she went to tie her shoes and she couldn't get up
Mm.
and she was done. She couldn't work anymore, which was really devastating for her because that was really something really important to her. So we filed the claim. She had actually with 2 companies, she had a pretty significant size policies. And she's only 45 years old. She's finished for the rest of her career, but she's going to be okay financially. She's going to be able to keep her house. Her family is intact. She reaches out to me regularly, sends me thank you notes. She's so appreciative that she listened so early on and not only got the coverage when she was in residency, but we kept it up to speed as her income changed. And so she's in really good shape. If she decides that she wants to do some kind of research, I think she's doing some charity work right now, but she's going to be okay financially. So it's really satisfying.
Looking to the future, what trends do you see emerging in the insurance industry, and how do you anticipate adapting to meet those changes?
So in the future, I mean, I'm seeing more and more clients shopping online. I think that that's not going to change. I think AI might become a part of it, people asking questions about that online. I still foresee that the need to have guidance and actual human contact is still really important. There was a really interesting article and research study done recently in the Wall Street Journal about how the industry was trying to replace agents by doing everything directly and it didn't go well.
Mm.
So I think there's still going to be a need in the future, but I do see maybe some more consolidation between companies. But in terms of the policies, I don't foresee anything really all that significantly changing.
You're listening to a special sponsored episode of the podcast by Kevin MD. We're talking with Jamie Fleischner. She is founder and president of Set for Life Insurance. Find out more at setforlifeinsurance.com. That's all one word, setforlifeinsurance.com. I'll put links in the show notes. Jamie, my final question. Tell us some of your take home messages that you want to leave with the Kevin MD audience.
My take home message is if you're thinking about life insurance or disability insurance, or you're concerned about it, or you're just overwhelmed with information, just contact us. If you want us to take a look at what you've already done, or you want us to help guide you through the process, we're here to help you. There's a lot of information out there. It's really important that you find somebody that you can trust. It is a big decision. It is a policy that you're going to have for 30, 40 years. But it's really important that you make sure that you think about what you're doing. It's important that you protect your income. It's your livelihood. And if something does happen, all of your future financial decisions are reliant on that income. So it's really, really important to make sure that it's properly protected.
For those who want to reach out to Jamie, go to setforlifeinsurance.com. That's setforlifeinsurance.com. I'll put links in the show notes. Jamie, thank you so much for sharing your time and insight. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you.